So we'll start right here with why you decided to trust some random stranger to help save your marriage.
No, yeah. I mean, it was watching your videos on YouTube
Yeah.
because we were going through some counseling at the time,
How many years married?
and uh, we're working on 17, so
Okay.
16 years married. So, yeah.
Okay.
But and a lot of the things that you described in your videos happened
Yeah.
during the counseling, and
Mhm.
so she felt reinforced in her desire to leave me, and I was freaking out, and we'd been through years of figuring stuff out. I mean, from the very beginning. I mean, we were in a cross cultural relationship. There's a lot of expectations and things to sort through, but we were in a pretty bad place. And so she had told me she was gonna move out, and and I had freaked out from that and shared that with some of my men's prayer partner group to pray because I was like, oh man, God help me, you know.
Yeah.
And we were also employed with the church. So one of the guys like came to the pastor and like said, "Hey, these guys might be breaking up," you know. And so then that caused a whole nother level of difficulty. Your pastor called us in, but we had like we kind of know about that stuff beforehand. But no, what helped was watching your videos and hope, right? That we really can fight for our marriage on our own because the counselors were always said exactly the opposite, right? They said, "Oh, if there's not two who want it to happen, then it can't happen." And I was like, "Come on, that is not how this works, right? Marriage is marriage is forever." And so that was helpful, and then learning not to be reactive was really helpful. Um, Having hope and being confident. I think understanding what women are attracted to, I think was really helpful too. Because I think, you know, I think one of my big mistakes getting married was thinking, oh man, we're married, she's with me, we're one, we're best friends, she'll automatically like all the stuff I like,
Right.
um, and even think and operate. And I actually knew that a lot of that wasn't exactly true, just because we were coming from different cultures. But I did severely underestimate what gaps there really were. And so that was very helpful. And then after I think following your YouTube videos for I probably watched them for maybe 2 months. Then I signed up for the self-directed program,
Hmm.
and uh, and that was helpful. And I mean, it's a little weird, but like talking with Allie was really helpful. And I mean, she's a gem, you know. I mean, she let me, mess around a little bit and flirt a little bit. And honestly, that just helped give me a lot of confidence that it's like, I can do this. This is gonna work, and we're gonna go forward. And um,
Dave, I want to touch on something that you said that I don't think I've ever really discussed, which is the whole idea about if one person only wants to work on it, then that it can't work. But like as like if like you, David, or like even if anyone listening to it's like, have you ever doubted something and then someone had so much certainty in this thing working out? It doesn't even have to be a relationship, just like an event or like a project or relationship. Like they give you that certainty. It's state transference 101. It's like psychology 101, which is why it's so frustrating when I hear these stories over and over, therapists being like, well, if only one person wants to work on it, it's like you're not allowed to have doubt, like
right, right, which is silly too. I mean, because as Christians too, like we know that, like we've wrestled with that. I mean, I was a convert in college, right? And so like understanding like there is hope for things that we can't see, and to hold on to that and to really believe it, which is something that I know that you emphasize, and not just as like a psychological trick, but like as a deep spiritual truth, that like God is for marriage and He is for us, And I mean, our whole process, like, it took years for us to even get married. Right? We met when we were both studying in Croatia at a seminary there. And but it's also one of the things that really helped me was when you talked about how, I mean, all people, but particularly women, filter things through their feelings. And so it helped me understand like how my wife could go from, oh, you're the most amazing person in the world. I love you so much. I worship you. You're so awesome, to, oh, I hate you. You've ruined my life. You know, you're disgusting and terrible. And it's like just realizing this, like, if when the feelings switch, right, the perception switches. Um, and I even seen that happen in our relationship because, it took us, like, it took what a lot of people would think of as just like some pretty fortuitous and miraculous stuff for us to get married in the first place. So we
Mm,
had like a real story about
mm,
how God brought us together,
mm.
but how, you know, through the things that I've failed to do, right, and through my problems and through her struggles, right, that build up of resentment over years, like, soured that. And that's what amazed me, is how she could reinterpret that story as like, oh, this was a trick from the devil, this was terrible. And it's like, I know that's not true, but just understanding that our feelings can completely reshape how we interpret both the
Right.
present and the past.
Right. And David, the optimal paradigm here for a guy when the wife is in the dual mind narrative, which is what you're referring to, is to believe that she's challenging you in your own identity, and that allows you the opportunity to like solidify more of like knowing who you are as a man. Because if she can
Right.
influence the way you see yourself, she doesn't want to be with you on a biological level.
Yeah. Well, and I just seen how that happened over the years, you know, because I definitely, like, the No More Mr. Nice Guy book was helpful. I'm
Mm,
very, I mean, we've all been trained to be nice guys.
yeah,
Um,
that's fine.
and seeing how, and being surprised, like, when that doesn't work. It's like, hey, I'm being nice. Why aren't you nice back? Like, what's going on? I don't understand this. Like, um, but then seeing how over the years that, like, her frustration and, criticisms, like, I would take those personally and then withdraw, right? And she'd just get more intense and more intense, and I would be more like, what's going on? And I would get more anxious and either withdraw more or then make the mistake of kind of treating her the way she was treating me. And so, like you said, like, kind of being influenced in that way and sort of not being true to myself. And so that was all really helpful. And I got a lot of that just from your free videos and then from the self-directed program.
Right.
Um,
So that's amazing, man. And you're spot on with it, which is why, why you're gonna have the ones you're about to share, which is like what are some of the well, actually, before you answer that question, like how long ago did you
sure.
start the program, and then like what have been the most recent big wins for you?
So I started the full program, I think, late August.
Okay.
And it made some big decisions based on,
Oh, that's been like 5, 6 weeks.
yeah, yeah. And then, I mean, I started listening to your videos, I think, last December, probably last January, but yeah, and made some big decisions. Like, we went on a big missions trip. We went on a big family trip to Bulgaria. It's the first time we've been back to her home country um, since we've had kids. Because again, she would always be like, "Oh, I don't know," because she has some difficult relationship with her family, and also worried about finances. And so I would listen to her and be like, "Oh, okay, well, we won't go this year. Like, we won't go this year." And then I was kind of like, I just have to decide we're gonna go,
Right.
because and that, I think that's one thing that what frustrated me so much was how I would expect her to be able to make decisions, but she couldn't, because she would be paralyzed by, fear one way, like fear of disappointment one way, or fear of lack one way, and how, like, my failure in being a leader and just saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and I'm not going to let what you're concerned about right stop us from taking action that we need to take.
Yeah.
I think really helped. So,
Wow. So would you say that was probably the biggest win, or was there some other big wins that you had, like going to the trip to Bulgaria or
oh no, I mean the big wins have come. I mean, probably I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago. Um,
what
she
happened?
started she started wearing her wedding ring again.
Hmm.
In fact, I was in one of our group meetings, and she just came in. She's like, "Oh, my engagement ring doesn't fit anymore, but my wedding ring does." And I was like, I mean, I remember when she was like screaming at me, taking the ring off and throwing it away. Like I didn't even know that she still had it. Except that when we were in Bulgaria, I was like, "Hey, let's go buy wedding rings again," because that's where we had bought ours originally. And she's like, "Oh no, I still have it." And so, but yeah, so she put her wedding ring back on, and then she moved back into our bedroom um, about the same time. And so again, that to me, those are like huge wins. And so, and he even had a great win this morning,
What
um,
happened?
where you know she's been willing to be friendly and friends, but touching has been a little dicey. Like sometimes it's okay, and sometimes she's like, "Get away, I hate you," And so this morning, I don't know, I probably woke up like 4 or 5 in the morning and was just praying for her, praying for our relationship, and just really wanting her. And so I did. I mean, just drew closer in our bed, and 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 she was okay with that. And then even as she started to wake up more, like I was able to like cradle her head, next to my chest. And I mean, it's like the first time we've been close like that for a long, long time. So yeah, it's really, really excited about
How
that.
did it feel?
Yeah, it's awesome. Feels awesome.
You know what? Did you hear the study? I know I don't know the exact amount, but it's high 90 percentile of couples that pray together end up staying together. And I was really thinking about this, Dave. Like, why is that so? And you could probably add on to this, but there's two reasons that I came up with. One, it puts you more on the like same team, right? Like it's us. Like you're doing this activity together that's like, praying to God. And it's like it kind of increases the oneness between the two of you. And for me, what I see, all problems, if you want to look at like ego and higher self, all problems stem from fear and the ego. And when you're praying to God, you're going to that like higher level of service and like giving and like forgiveness and all and gratitude and like all these things that are like getting you outside of your own selfish ego needs. Right. And so you're tapping more into that like higher self, like divine self. And I think those are the two biggest reasons why prayer together with your partner is so effective.
Yeah, well, and I think too that like God's really there, and you can just, I think psychologically, if you want to talk about it in that sense too, it's like you really connect with the deep hurts and the feelings that you have, and you can just share that with him, like as your father, like he knows and he cares and he loves us, and to be able to like I think praying gives us a chance to really do that, just to be raw and to be real, and yeah.
So that's a really good habit to learn and practice with her. Understanding her dual mind narrative, like you said, what are some of the other lessons you've learned across these past couple of months that have led her to want to cuddle with you and put her ring back on and all that stuff?
Um, when you talk about being a confident man, like and knowing what you want and not caring what she thinks, and not in a not in a dismissive way, but in a way that's like, I want this and I think it's right and it's good, and you need to contend with me.
Can I
I think
elaborate on that for a
that
second? Because a lot of guys get that
yeah,
confused, right? And this is something that I was still trying to like I know how to experience it, but how to actually convey it verbally is hard. So
right.
the idea of not caring about her opinion of you, like what you're detached is it's a detachment. You're not detaching that you have love for her or that you want the best for her.
Right.
What you're
Right.
detaching is that when she reacts in fear, doubt, coldness, apathy, that emotional reaction doesn't impact how you feel yourself, which is very hard,
Right.
but it is the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, that is what it is. Like it's being emotionally detached to her negative emotions when she's, feeling disconnected. You don't react defensively, you don't yell back, you don't run away,
Exactly.
lean
Yeah.
in, you see how she feels, you see the pain underneath the anger or the shutting down, because that's all defense mechanisms, and you speak
Yeah.
to that kind of girl that needs that like love, speak to that, right?
Exactly.
That's what fully not caring what she thinks about you means.
Right. So like connecting with her through the storm. I think you used that analogy before.
Bingo. Yeah.
Right. Like being willing to go in and say, "Hey, I can take all this. It's not going to break me down, and I can love you, and be there for you, and know that I'm going to make decisions that are good for us, um, and include you in that process, but also be like, I'm going to be a leader." I think that's a big thing that I've had to learn,
Mm,
because I spend a lot of my time letting my circumstances make decisions for me,
yeah.
and I did a lot of work in inner city ministry where it's just chaos all the time, right? And it's just like you just you plan, but you just are also constantly reacting because your stuff gets stolen that morning, something weird happens. Like you're always sort of in survival mode, I guess, if that makes sense. And then I've had a lot of that kind of chaos in me and having to learn how to like, okay, who am I and how am I going to make decisions and make choices that are going to be best for us that aren't just reacting to the invitations or the urgent needs or the circumstances around me.
Well said. I want to draw your attention to a question I don't think I've ever asked before in these interviews, which is, can you think of a time where you applied a different, whether it's a lesson from the course or personal insight, and you applied it with it, you tried something new, something against your default nature, and you saw the immediate shift? Can you think of something like that?
I'm trying to think of a good one. I mean, there's definitely a lot. The first one is just not reacting
Yeah. Yeah.
because she'll go nuclear. And and honestly, like for me, like that was the most scary thing because I came from a home where there was high conflict avoidance, right? Everything was cool. We kept everything cool. The only
Yeah.
thing you could do wrong was like make waves, And my wife, she didn't. I mean, she and her sister kind of raised each other.
Okay.
And and not to dog on Eastern European culture, it's just a lot more open and a lot more comfortable with anger and expressing
Wow.
that.
I was just over there I was in Poland, Serbia, and Croatia, and
Oh,
like
really?
a good amount of our team is Croatian, actually. So, and I've been over to Croatia like 4 times. So, like, I understand the culture pretty well at this point. I
Yeah,
understand
I think I saw a couple
the
guys' names.
disposition of
I was
Eastern
like, hey,
Europeans.
he's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, the
No, no,
disposition of
go ahead. Sorry.
the disposition of your Eastern Europeans is completely antithetical, like opposite to like what I am. I'm just like happy-go-lucky, optimistic, positive, golden retriever energy, and they're just like
Sorry.
life is okay. It's like life is whatever. Like, very pessimistic, kind of like it's cold over there all the time. It's just like I get it, but like, and because there's all
Yeah.
the wars they had, that's just like
No, I know. Right.
PTSD that's been handed down from generation to generation. So I understand why it's there, but anyway, I can go off too much about that.
Sure. No, no.
But
Yeah.
yeah, for her though, it's like did that cultural difference kind of impact the way you guys were at times?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Like we totally misunderstood each other.
Yeah.
And that because I would judge her as being like angry and mean, and she would judge me as being like, I don't know, weak and um I don't know, undisciplined, these kinds of things.
Mm.
And and then two, how we are. male female, like how we would react differently. Because like as a man, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna be noble and I'm not gonna fight with you, right? So I'll withdraw. And as a woman who was raised in a rough household, it's like, oh, with like if you're withdrawing from me, then you're abandoning me,
You don't
and
care.
that's like the most horrible thing you can do. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, we're working through all kinds of we've got all kinds of exciting stuff that we've been working through over the years. So
And practically the way that works too, David, is like, and this is something that is it's usually in the unconscious, right? Like she's just an angry person. She's just a, but like when you learn that her and her father used to have that back and forth, and it was just the way they communicated, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't love her less or she doesn't love him less. But to you, if that were to happen with your mother, oh,
right, yeah,
you guys are not going to talk for a week. But like, so that difference, if we don't, there's no like a not underlying conversation there of why it's going on. But once you understand that, it's
yeah,
like when she's yelling at you next time, you're like, okay, this doesn't mean like my emotions are telling me that she hates me, she
right,
won't leave me, or all this stuff.
exactly. It.
But I can, have that separation between my thoughts and my emotions and my actions, and then that separation allows for new change. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right, and that we can like I think I made the mistake, especially earlier in our relationship, that I would just like completely cut off, and instead of being like, oh no, I can, I can cut off from those anxious feelings that come up, and trusting that this is just a way we communicate, and we can stay connected, and we can work through the problem,
mm,
and I don't have to be afraid. Um, 'Cause that was honestly fear was a big thing too, right? That fear that not just emotionally, but like, I mean, is stuff gonna break? Are things gonna be, you know what I mean? Like it could get pretty wild.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but to engage calmly and to keep your frame, that helps bring that calm back. That helps the storm calm down, right? And be safe and know that hey, we're gonna work through this issue together.
My favorite last question to ask guys before we wrap up here is just if you got in a time machine and you went back, let's say a year, and you were able to give yourself a piece of advice or tell him something he needed to hear, what would you say to yourself?
I mean, I would say keep the faith, trust God and love her. And that doesn't mean like do what she says, right? That means to be, I think like we talked about, to be calm, to be strong, to be a good leader, to be present, um, to not be afraid.
Of
And I appreciate it. Thanks for putting together a program, Josh.
course, man. Thank you for trusting me.
You bet. God bless you.
Take care.